Welcome to another episode of Empowered. My name is Luis Carlos Estrada, and today I have a very special guest, Blake Haney. Welcome.
All right, thanks for having me, Luis. I'm excited.
Yeah, how are you doing today?
Doing really well. Just finished up teaching on a Thursday. Snowing here in Denver, so yeah, I'm ready to have a good conversation.
Yeah, for those who don't know, like people that are listening, like Blake was my supervisor, like for 1 year each, something like that. And do you understand like how we met?
Yeah. It was. I mean, really, initially it was a phone call. I think I talked to you on a phone call and then on Zoom, and yeah, kind of just from there we got rolling and started doing some work. Got you hired at NAU, and the rest is history. Kind of sure we'll dive
Yeah.
into a lot of that stuff today, but yeah.
Yeah, and when we were in person, that was so funny because I remember like we would be like texting each other like for 2 months. And then I went to the Reds room. I saw you, but I didn't know how you look like, and you didn't know how I was looking like. And then you sent me a text. Oh, by the way, I'm in my office if you wanna say hi. And I was like, okay, cool. So I went to like, hey, I saw you in the restroom. So that
I do
was so
remember that.
fun.
I do remember that. I saw you. Yeah, I saw you in the restroom, and I was like, I don't think I've seen this student athlete at NAU before. And then yeah, I texted you and you came to my office, and I was like, oh, okay, I should have probably put two and two together. But yeah, actually, that's a pretty funny. That's a pretty good intro to our current relationship. So that's funny.
Yeah. And all right, so for people that don't know you, like, can you tell me a little bit about your background, who you are, stuff that you have done in your life, and like how you describe yourself and stuff like that?
Yeah, I'll keep it somewhat brief. I grew up in Bakersfield, California. Played a lot of sports growing up. Sports is kind of my thing all through the young ages and adulthood. I When I was in high school, I ran track and cross country. Kind of played hockey and soccer up until high school, but after that I kind of dropped them for track and cross country. Took it pretty seriously. I was a very highly ranked national recruit. Went to the
Mhm.
University of Oregon, ran track there, cross country there, was a 7-time All-American. Ran professionally for three years for Under Armour. That's when I moved to
Mhm.
Flagstaff. That's where we met you in Flagstaff. I started
Yeah.
tutoring initially in Flagstaff just because professional running takes up not that much time of the day, so there's a lot of time just sit around. And maybe we'll talk about this later on in the interview, but yeah, I just get in my own head a lot. So for me, sitting around at home wasn't really the best thing for me. So I started tutoring while I
Mhm.
was running professionally full time. So I was doing that. Kind of got connected with NAU. Got promoted a few times throughout that process, and yeah, I was supervising you and the GAs.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, just really recently, it was my time to transition at NAU. Kind of hung up the running shoes and the spikes for now. Uh, if I'm gonna get back, and I'm teaching
Oh, I think my
high
Wi-Fi is not
school
working.
math in Denver. I enjoy it. It's been a lot of fun.
Can you hear me well? Because I think you
What was
got
that?
frozen for a while. Can you hear me well? Because I think you got frozen.
Okay, I hear you now. I hear you now. Yeah,
Oh, you can hear me
can you
now?
hear me?
Okay, cool. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I
Yeah.
couldn't hear the last part. I couldn't hear the last part when you said that you transitioned to Denver.
Yeah, so I transitioned out of NAU, transitioned kind of away from professional running, taking a break, maybe get back into it at some point. But I studied education while I was at NAU,
Hmm.
while I was also working and running. I also knew during my undergrad at Oregon that I'd want to start teaching at some point. And so yeah, made the transition to teaching full time now and teaching high school math in Denver, which has been super fun, super rewarding, and
Okay.
I really enjoy it. So I'm happy with the decision so far. And yeah, I mean that's like a very very quick overview of my life, I guess.
Yeah, that's cool. And how do you start in the running world?
Yeah, it, yeah, I think it was. there's not really anything that springs to mind that like led me to running. There's a few, I was always pretty fast, like relative to
Mhm.
my age range and like relative to, roller skating or ice skating or running, like in soccer. My dad ran track and field pretty competitively in, in Canada. One of my aunts made the world championship team in the marathon for Canada. I'm a Canadian. I'm also Canadian. So
Yeah.
they he had the experience and he knew, and she also knew. My sister ran in high school, so I was kind of around her teammates while I watched her race in high school, and they became my friends, and it became something where you see older people doing something, you kind of want to you aspire to be like them, right? Doesn't matter what
Mhm.
they're doing. You look up to the people that are older than you, especially when you're seventh, eighth grade. You're like 13 years old. Um, so yeah, I was naturally pretty gifted, and I had I had a lot of people around me that were doing it, and it kind of, kind of from there into one of my passions. So.
Yeah, and you said like you were a professional runner for Under Armour. How do your journey start when it comes like to okay, so I'm gonna move into professional running? Under Armour signed me. So how was that process for you? Like how did everything start?
Yeah, I think at Oregon, it's kind of where it started. I
Mhm.
was running, Oregon's a pretty big. I mean, everyone knows it just being Nike, and it's a big, sports wise, a pretty popular university. So going there, you get a big following, you get a lot of opportunity that maybe you don't get at other schools. So I ran well enough, placed high enough at NCAA's a few times, like second, third. I never won, but I was in the top 3 or 4 a few times, and got me enough attention to
Mhm.
have some potential opportunities after college. So got an agent, kind of got set up with a company, ended up being Under Armour, and after that, yeah, they said
Mhm.
Flagstaff was kind of where they wanted to start a group, and the high elevation is obviously very attractive to runners, and
Mhm.
training at a high altitude is very, very beneficial. So
Mhm.
yeah, it worked out really well. I think for me, it was a good fit. It worked out great. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you an anecdote because, like, I mean, you know that I play baseball, right? So when I was in high school, one of
Mm-hmm.
my closest friends at that time, he and I would practice all the time together, running, baseball, pitching, hitting, everything. And I remember that we always wanted like to have like the Bryce Harper stuff because Bryce Harper is an Under Armour athlete, right? Right. So we were like, that would be so cool if we can have like all this Under Armour stuff. And when you told me that you were a pro runner and that you had like the discount, I was like I went to order all this stuff. Remember?
Yeah. No, it's funny. Bryce Harper, my best friend's younger brother, he was a really good baseball player. He still is. He's playing in the minor leagues for Tampa Bay Rays. But he had this. I think he still has it in his bedroom though. He had this big Bryce Harper poster in his bedroom when Bryce Harper was like 16. He was like this, prodigy. So Bryce Harper was the guy back then, and still now. I mean, he's great now. So that's funny though. Yeah,
Yeah.
we got you the hook up a few times with Under Armour though.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, got you
Also,
set up.
I was gonna ask you like when you first signed with Under Armour, were you like a fan of Under Armour? Like, would you always be like wearing like Under Armour stuff or?
I think so. Not really. Not that I wasn't a fan. I don't think. I mean, I had
Mhm.
Nike, exclusively Nike for the last 5 years before I signed with Under Armour, just because Oregon, you can't really wear anything other than Nike. That's just how it goes. I mean,
Mhm.
so I was just wearing Nike for 5 years. High school, I was kind of all over the place. It didn't really matter as long as it was comfortable. I do remember wearing a lot of growing up, like the Under Armour, because initially it was just compression sleeves, so like
Yeah.
really tight clothing. And so growing up, I wore that stuff all the time. Um, but I don't really, nothing really, um, no bias towards it, not really. And there was no bias towards anything really. I think,
Uh-huh.
I liked Nike when I was at Oregon
Mhm.
before college. I was running in basically whatever it was, Brooks, Adidas, Nike, New Balance, anything like that. So
And how was
yeah.
like the deal with Under Armour? Like for example, like okay, so you're gonna practice with Under Armour like from this time to this time. It's gonna be a contract for this amount of years, and then because I'm not sure like how running works, because I know like in baseball there's like the season from April to September and then the playoffs in October. But like as a pro runner, how does that work?
Yeah, running contracts, and yeah, it's very different. It's not a major sport, so it's not, you don't have your $25 million contracts like you do in baseball or basketball, or football, whatever the major sport is. So it's different. It's a year-round sport for the most part. It probably picks up the most in January to around August or September. It's basically split up into 2 seasons. So indoor track, racing indoors, obviously, which would be January to March. And then you'll transition to the outdoor track, which everyone knows pretty well, just like the outdoor venues. And that's April to, yeah, like September time. And yeah, everyone will have, for the most part, you'll have a base salary, like any job. You'll have a salary you start with. You're getting paid that, quarterly, monthly, whatever it is. And otherwise, you'll have the contract incentives, so time bonuses. So if you're running, at least for me, there's other events in track, not just running, but for a distance runner, you have a time bonus of, run a 5K in under 13 minutes, right? And you'll get $10,000 for that, for running that mark. There are also other performance bonuses where if you make a world team or an Olympic team or top 5 at USA's, whatever nationality you are, they'll pay you out bonuses for that. So you'll accrue these bonuses for performances, for times, all that stuff, maybe even racing 10 times, whatever it is, you'll get bonuses. And then sometimes in contract, bonuses will
I think you got cut for a second.
Your next salary the following year. So, so essentially, if you get those bonuses, they can sometimes roll over into your salary, and so your salary then takes into account the bonuses you made that year. So you could always make more money, and it's a great way to make money. Obviously, it's not a lucrative sport. You're maybe not setting yourself up for life like you would if you made it in the NFL or the MLB, but
yeah,
there is money to be made, especially the marathon, the longer road races and the marathons, they can make a lot of money. So
yeah. And you're a 7-time All-American. Are you like, I mean, I assume that you're super proud of these accomplishments, but what are the measure of success like to become an All-American? Like who selects you? Like what's the process to become an All-American?
Yeah, so in NCAA, I think for track, I think it's probably different for every sport, but I know in cross country, I never was an All-American in cross country. It's top 40 at the national meet in cross country. I never was top 40. I was like 80th for my best. But on the track, it's top 8. So if you're 8th, you're an All-American in track in your event. So if you're 8th place in the mile, the 100-meter dash, the hammer throw, whatever it is, you're an All-American. So that's the benchmark that we were measured by. So
okay, and I was doing some research and I saw like you ran the mile in 3:56 and the world record is 3:43, right?
Yeah.
So you were super close to break the world record, right?
Well, it's not. I mean, it may look close. The discrepancy is a lot bigger, I think, especially as you get a little lower. Yeah, as you get closer to like the 352s, the 350s, even breaking 350 is like a pretty long ways away from where I probably was at. So 343, really, it was never something I thought about. That's not something I would have even imagined. So that I was still a ways away, but I appreciate you elevating me to that level.
So technically, are you one of the fastest runners in the world at that time? Were you?
At that time, probably not. No, I think in that. So it's interesting. I was 19 when I ran that time.
Okay.
I think I was 7th place in that race. So
really?
But yeah, I ran my best mile. I was 7th in that race. I think I lost to the Olympic gold medalist and the Olympic bronze medalist. So they were in that race. So I think I was number 1 or 2 in the NCAA with that time, but in the world, I wasn't really super competitive. But
yeah, because every second means a lot, right?
Yeah. In some cases, definitely. As you get farther in distance, like the 100-meter, a second is like a world's difference. In the mile, it's in the mile a little less, and in the 5K, it's like nothing. But it's still in the mile. There's still a significant amount of time second. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what was your time like in the 100 meters?
I've never actually timed 100 meters. We do it in practice at Oregon, and it was probably something like a running start. It's probably something like I could probably run like 12 something in the 100 meter. I don't really know an accurate.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's impressive. And what were your like your most important qualities as a runner?
I think I think I had a lot of self motivation. It was kind of
Mm-hmm.
that always stood out to me. I think starting in high school, um, I was able to separate myself from everybody in high school from like the start of my freshman year. Um, so I would say that being motivated, I'm happy with how my career and has turned out, just based on the fact that I never felt like I left any stone unturned. It's like cliche to say that,
Mm-hmm.
but I always feel like I did the most I could. I never missed a day. I always, and to a fault, probably like thought about it all the time. Was really focused on it. Took
Mm-hmm.
losses like very very hard, which probably had a very negative impact on my career. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I would say the motivation piece was very natural for me, and a lot of people that I trained with and knew and talked to, it was different for them. So
Yeah.
that's something I would attribute to. Maybe also like I have good like sprint speed, like leg speed for a like distance runner. So in the slower, sometimes races are tactical or slower. Those would benefit me, and I was always in like a pretty good position racing wise. So I would say those two probably stood out to me as like
Mm-hmm.
good attributes that made me competitive.
And when you were a professional runner, how was like a typical day in your life? What time you would wake up, practice, eat, all of that?
Yeah, it varies. So workout days where we're doing like 2.5 hours of pretty intense stuff, you know, maybe like get up at 7 a.m., have like protein shake, banana, maybe some oatmeal, drive down to Sedona, work out on the track in Sedona. Track workouts could be like 6 by a mile or 3 by 2 mile, 20 times 400, just a bunch of different types of track workouts. So something like that on the day, get 16, like 13 to 16 miles of work in, then drive back up to Flagstaff, kind of chill out. Some days I was tutoring, so I'd just be tutoring in between. And then sometime in the afternoon, I would probably run again, like 4 miles, and then lift. So some days it was like 12 to 18 miles of running and then lifting. And then that's like Tuesday, Friday, Sunday. And then the other days of the week, like 60 minutes of easy running, just like pretty chill. And those are the days where like you finish and it's like, okay, it's 8 a.m. I have nothing else to do the rest of the day. Like, what am I going to do the rest of my day? So that's kind of when I picked up like going back to school, getting my master's, working at NAU, all that. That's where I found time to do that stuff. So, um, but yeah, that's like a typical day, nothing crazy.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I hear you now. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, I think that I clicked the mute button.
you're good.
Just give me a second, okay? All right, so what are some of the most important records that you broke?
Yeah. So record wise, I think there's a few. I have a few maybe. Um, I don't have them anymore, but my freshman year of high school, I broke the California state record for the mile for freshmen, and that was kind of when I knew like, okay, I'm pretty good at this. Like
Mm-hmm.
hockey, soccer can kind of take a back seat to this. I don't really need to do that anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when I knew like, okay, I'm going to try and be like really, really good at this. And that's when I took that first step
Mm-hmm.
to where I got to. And um, the next one was probably the Oregon. I had the Oregon indoor record in the mile, which I mean, it's the University of Oregon. If you have any track record there, it's a pretty, at least to me, it's a pretty big deal. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's a pretty big program, pretty special program, historic program. So
Do you still have that
those,
one?
I don't have that one anymore. No, that one's
Okay.
long. That one's long gone. But I had it for maybe a year. I think it was broken while I was still there. So I had it for like a
Okay.
year. Um, And yeah, that one's really cool to have. That was a special one. Um, and yeah, otherwise I have like my high school's
Mhm.
records. I have all those, but
You
yeah,
still have them?
those yeah, I still have those ones. So, but those feel pretty good. So all of
Did
those.
did you do your high school in Bakersfield?
Bakersfield, yep, yep.
Okay, so you're a big celebrity there.
I mean, I'm not a big celebrity anywhere, but um, I don't know. Yeah,
That'd be cool.
maybe like 20 people know who I am in Bakersfield. Maybe.
That's cool. All right, and moving like into more like deep stuff, what would you say like were your biggest difficulties or yeah times that you struggle as an athlete?
Yeah, I would say from the beginning, even before I was running, I was always very competitive. It came really natural to me, wanting to be the best at something. I didn't know what it was always, but wanted to be the best. Wanted to be a professional athlete in some aspect, and
Mm-hmm.
um, that was kind of my focus. And if I didn't achieve that, or if I wasn't feeling like I was the best, I took it really personally, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's a slippery slope to do that. You put a lot of expectation on yourself, lots of pressure. And even when I was 14, 15, I was still putting so much pressure on myself and beating myself up. Um, and it really carried over into college where
Mm-hmm.
uh, it was hard. Like I was on my own for a little bit in college, or most of college, obviously all of college. Like I was living away from
Mm-hmm.
home. I wasn't in California anymore. I wasn't with my parents all the time. And um, yeah, it's a reality. Like college, you get to college,
Mm-hmm.
everyone's training as hard as you or harder. Everyone's good. Everyone wants to beat
Mm-hmm.
you. Everyone wants the same thing. And there were times where I felt like I wasn't performing well, and I think I put a lot of my own self value on my performances. And when things didn't go well, it was the end of the world. And yeah, it took like a lot of time to dig to like
Mm-hmm.
bring myself back up. And I don't want to say I was like suffering from depression, but there were times
Mm-hmm.
where like their lows were really low, and almost to the point where I would get second at nationals, and I wouldn't celebrate it. I would just be disappointed in myself and feel like I should have done better
Mm-hmm.
or should have been better. And I think that's kind of hurt my
Yeah.
relationship with running, just because I never really celebrated my victories or my successes. I always was just critical of them. And
Mm-hmm.
mental health is a lot bigger now, and
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot more athletes utilizing mental health resources, and it's something I wish was maybe a little more prevalent even 6, 7, 8 years ago. Um, so yeah, the struggles for me were just the expectations I put on
Mm-hmm.
myself and the embarrassment I felt when I would not perform well. And
Okay.
yeah, really not celebrating not even small, but like the big victories and the important things. So,
Yeah, I think you're touching a very important point because I think that was one of the cultural shock that I had when I moved to the US. Because, for example, when I was in Mexico, I mean, I play baseball, like swimming, taekwondo, and I remember like in taekwondo, like I mean, if I would win, cool, but it was not a big deal because like my passion was always baseball. But I remember like in some competitions that if I wouldn't win the gold medal, like my parents or my grandparents would be like, no, like that's cool, like you're still a winner. As long as you participate, you're a winner. But like I think if you're teaching kids, I don't know what your perspective on that, but I think like if you're teaching kids like as long as they participate, they are winners. I mean, the world wouldn't take them as winners, because for example, like if there's like 5 people applying for this position, like not all of them are gonna get a position. It's gonna be only one person. So if you
right,
participate, you're not a winner. The only one who wins is a guy who actually wins, right? So
right, right. And I get what you're saying. I think it's conflicting a little bit for me just because of my relationship with how at least it played out for me. I wish, I'd get second and third at NCAA is like the biggest collegiate competition you can be in.
uh-huh.
I wish I would have celebrated and been happy about it, but that just wasn't the case for me. And I think people should be happy to get seventh, eighth, ninth. Like, it's you train so hard, work so hard that you got to celebrate it one way or another. And for
Mm-hmm.
me, I just didn't do that, and I don't think it was sustainable, and partially impacted my career. But I know what you're saying. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you got to have that edge still to get to become the best. And yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
think we're at a point where it's we're losing that edge a little bit. I
Mhm.
think you still find some people who have it, but yeah, for the youth, it's I think you got to find that balance, and I don't know. It's hard to find the balance, so I don't blame people who don't find it. But
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. So I hear you.
Yeah, because I can relate with you on that. Because for example, like in baseball, if I would be like playing a tournament, and I used to be a PO, so if I would be like pitching and like I'm done by the second or third inning, I don't feel like a winner, right? Even though like, oh yeah, but you participated in this tournament or whatever, you're still a winner. And it's like, no, I don't feel like that. I remember that one time in when I was 11, it was like the Latin American World Cup, and it was in my city. It's been like more than 30 editions, probably like more than 40 right now. It's been like 10 years already or more. And I was in bench all the time there. Like I remember like two hits in five at bats, and one of these hits was a bunt. So it was just like I was just so lucky. I remember, but it's
Yeah,
like getting five at bats like in this huge competition is like I don't feel like a winner. It's like most of my teammates, the one that were like super good at it, they would be like having, I don't know, like 40 at bats, 30 at bats. So they were like the stars of the team. So it's like I don't feel like a winner, even though we won the championship, right? And actually, one of them is playing in the majors right now. The other one is in the
mm,
minors. So it's like how how was I going to compete against them? It's like they were just so
yeah,
good. We were like 11, 12 years old. So I think that it's more important to feel like a winner. I mean, if you're like second place in the NCAA, of course that you gotta feel like a winner, right? But if you're second place like in a local competition, probably not. So I think that it depends on the magnitude of the event, right?
yeah. And I like that point you brought up because I look back and even during I was always envious of team sports because um we track teams, you're kind of on the team, you don't really, it's
Mm-hmm.
different, it's a lot different, and we won some national titles when I was there, but we also didn't win some national titles, and you still perform when you don't have, like, you still can win a national title
Mm-hmm.
without winning a team title. So like I just feel like it's really cool when I watch like the Stanley Cup playoffs or like the Super Bowl and these teams win. It's like um, they go home and they're like all celebrating together, and this whole
Mm-hmm.
summer is like them celebrating their championship. But I watched this I forget what it's called now. It's a Netflix show that just came out recently. I think it's like it's a golf. I think it's something swing. It's like a golf documentary on Netflix, and Justin Thomas mentions how he won like a major golf tournament, like one of the majors, four majors, and it's a huge deal. Like I think he won like $12 million, big tournament, huge. And he's walking out, and he's like, oh, it's already over. Like
Mm-hmm.
I wish the ceremony would have lasted longer. I wish this whole moment would have lasted longer. Because now it's gone. And he like says this on camera, and I'm like, I feel the same way sometimes. It's just those individual sports, you just win, and then it's like, cool, here's your trophy. All right, everyone's going home. You don't
Mm-hmm.
really, you have some, you have your support system, but like having a team where it's like, hey, Luis did his job. He, had that sack pot fly, closed the last inning, and then like this other guy made that diving catch, and
Mm-hmm.
this guy's the one who got us to the weight room, and we all worked
Mm-hmm.
hard, and this is the guy who broke his leg but still was there every day. Like it's crazy how I
Yeah.
feel like those team sports have that camaraderie and like go celebrate together. But
Mm-hmm.
like when you're running, or playing golf, you're out there by yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of times everyone you're friends with wants to beat you because you're competing against them.
Yeah.
So it's a different feeling for sure.
No, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And what is some of the coolest stuff that you have done in your life, professional wise, and then personal wise?
Yeah, I think for running particularly, so I've run in like Ukraine, Ireland, Belgium, Canada, a bunch of different countries, US, all around the US. Obviously, that's pretty cool. I think that was my favorite part of it. Just flying all over the place, traveling, hanging out with friends, and
Mm-hmm.
competing. It was super fun. That was like the highlight for me. Always, I do really like training. So having like a schedule and a routine was like the best feeling for me. Was you know
Mm-hmm.
training really hard and getting in good shape. Probably more
Mm-hmm.
enjoyable to me. That was more enjoyable to me than actually racing. It was the training
Mm-hmm.
and working out really hard and all that stuff. So those are some highlights for me. Professionally, I think now. At my time at NAU, obviously hanging out with the GAs, like getting to spend time with you guys, help you guys develop was like the best, super fun, great relationships there. And then now, working with high school students and teaching math, it's, it's a challenge, but every single day there's something very rewarding that happens and reminds you how important just little things are and appreciating everything. So
Yeah, and personal wise?
Personal wise, I don't know. I think my personality, at least for a while, just felt like I was an athlete, and I think that's really not a great thing.
Yeah.
You don't want your identity to be one thing, and I have an amazing girlfriend now who has really helped me balance and find myself, figure out what I want to do, and just support me. So she's obviously a really big highlight in my life. My family, my parents, we've gone to Italy and Bahamas. We, great family, close knit family, spending time with them's been a highlight. Just growing up with like a very supportive family has been a major highlight. And I have close friends I've had my entire life. So spending time with them, meeting a ton of people. I think connections you make and meeting people, traveling and doing all that stuff. Like, I think it was like 2 summers ago, I went scuba diving in Honduras with like a friend I grew up with from my hometown, which is like pretty cool. I mean, I don't know. There's like things you're never going to forget that stuff. And it's pretty fun. So
You were talking about connections, and I was watching a TikTok yesterday. Like this guy was asking like random people in the streets of like this fancy place. I don't remember where. Like who's the most famous person in your contacts? So I want to ask you like who's the most famous person in your contacts?
That's a good question. I don't want to say him just because like the relationship we have as friends, but Matthew Centrowitz is probably the most. He won the Olympic gold medal in Rio, so 2016 in the 1500 on the track. So I would probably go with him.
What's his name?
Can't think. Matthew Centrowitz.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I would go with him probably. I'm trying to think. I was on a world youth team with Marlon Humphrey. He's a NFL cornerback. He's made the Pro Bowl like 2 or 3 times, I think. He follows me on Twitter, so that's probably my
that's
Twitter
cool.
follow. That's probably my best Twitter follow, but my best contact is probably Matthew Centrowitz. Yeah,
I think I don't follow you on Twitter. I want to follow you.
I don't tweet, so it's not worth it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the best advice that you have ever received?
So tough.
I want you to tell me this because then I need to tell you something. So you go first.
Okay. I think it's a tricky one. I think I wish I was more prepared for this one because I think I have better answers than I'm probably going to give you.
I can go first if you want, so you can have more time to think.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, because I remember like last semester, like when we were like talking like all the time over there, like in the department. Like one time, like I was having like a hard time, but I think like it was throughout the entire semester, just like with the immigration stuff, my visa, graduation, and everything. And there were like quite a few nights that I was not getting sleep just because of how stressed I was. And I remember that I was like, I'm gonna go talk to Blake. It was in the middle of the day, so I was, hey Blake, can I talk to you? Yeah, sure. So we closed the door, and then I was, hey Blake, so I'm struggling with this. Like I'm trying to like manage stress and like all of this. And we had like probably like a half an hour, 40-minute conversation, something like that. And I remember that you told me something that I still think about it, like whenever I'm struggling with something, which is like very often. And you told me like, so in your time in the US, like, has it ever happened like you have a problem and then it doesn't get solved, or you always find a solution? I mean, I'm paraphrasing, and I was like, no, it has never happened. Like at the end, like there's always a solution. Because I was getting so stressed, so frustrated, not getting sleep. Like even like my shoulders were like super sore, like for everything, like for the stress. But you told me that, like, so has it ever happened? Like you don't find a solution, or like, I know, like I still think about it, like whenever something happens, because like I have my master's interview next week for the MBA thing, and then just like with random stuff, like with rent, if I'm not gonna be on a rate next year, which something that we're gonna talk about it like out of the podcast. And yeah, just like a lot of stuff, like just like difficulties. And I always think back about that advice that you gave me, if I can call it like that. And I don't know, like probably for people that are listening, it's like a good advice for them as well. But at least
Yeah,
that.
and that's advice I was given. It's, when you're overwhelmed, and I do like that one. That's not what I'm going to go with, but I do appreciate it. You're going to make me choke up over here bringing that up. But yeah, I would say like, yeah, it's, you have to ask yourself, like, when is something not worked out? Usually things work out,
Mhm.
especially someone like you go and solve things, you're reaching out. You're not wasting any time, right? If you're not doing something, then it's one thing. But if you're doing all the right
Mhm.
things, reaching out to the right people, checking all the boxes, then you have nothing to
Mhm.
worry about. For me, I think the best advice I've been given lately is, as a teacher. Now, my principal told me this pretty soon after I started. It's like a month ago. He had mentioned to me, like, hey, like, you know, do everything you can for the students, and I think this is the same for the work you guys do at NAU. But
Mhm.
but but they're not going to learn every day. They're not going to come in, like, never, not every day is going to be perfect. Like, if they don't learn
Mhm.
one day, they can always learn tomorrow, right? And
Mhm.
that's the beauty of, like, the way our society is set up, right? We always have the next day. And I do wish I thought that way more as an athlete and just day to day as a person. um, I was so focused, and I think focusing on the now it's crucial. You got to focus on the present. But
Mhm.
when something doesn't work out, and especially for me, like, training wise, if I had a bad day, that carried over the whole week. Whereas, like,
Mhm.
hey, I had a rough day today, but tomorrow I can get better. And I think for me, that's like teaching. That's been huge for me as a new teacher. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
my fourth period was super loud, super crazy today. They didn't want to listen to me. I feel like I failed them, but tomorrow I can do it all again, learn from
Mhm.
it, and get better. So to me, that's probably the best advice I've been given lately
Mhm.
is there's always tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have like a really good, like, I mean, a strong like character, personality, like your mindset, and I think that that has a lot to do with you being an athlete, right? Because when I have talked, like, I think that I probably talk to you about this, and I kind of like talk about it often. Like, athletes tend to have like similar personalities, right? And one of them is like having a strong mindset, like I always like try to compete or like this kind of stuff. So how did you develop that? Was it just for your athlete life or also for other stuff that happened in your life that became you the person you are?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I molded so much of my personality around sports that I'm very
Mm-hmm.
type A. I'm very type A. So if you give me a piece of paper that says, like, hey, do this, and this in this order at this time, I'm gonna do it. And so for me, like, I wanted to coach, and my dad coached me in high school, so it was kind of like an easy relationship. But, like, all my coaches after that, I kind of wanted training that was like, hey, do this, and this. And I'm like, hey, if I do this, I'm going to be really good. And so that worked great for me versus a coach
Mm-hmm.
who's like, hey, feel this out, see how you're feeling. Cause I'm too stubborn to, like, adjust it. I'm just going to try and do the most I possibly can
Okay.
instead of adjusting things. So I would almost attribute it to stubbornness and, like, type A attributes of being, like, not missing a single lift or band exercise or run or 0.11 miles, whatever it is. So, like, just making sure I did that. So type A, and
Mm-hmm.
just stubbornness of making sure is like perfectionist. I don't know, trying to be as perfect as I possibly could. Yeah.
Yeah. And as of today, like who would you say that are your role models and your mentors?
I would definitely, yeah, my dad for sure. And both my parents, really. It's, yeah, I would say for them, they kind of, showed me what it takes and what it's like,
Mm-hmm.
and raised me. Um, and I don't think I could have been raised better than I
Mm-hmm.
was with them. And so for that, I would say them are the two I look up to, the two I turn to for advice and help. And um, yeah, so they fill that mentor and, like, uh, role model role for me. So
And what's the most important thing that you're the most proud of in your life?
that's tough. That's tough. I don't think it'd be anything running related. I think it would
Mm-hmm.
be more of just like, I think I feel like, and this sounds somewhat selfish maybe to say it, but I feel like I have a passion for helping people, and I've been able to do that now. And I'm proud that I don't define myself as like an athlete, and I can,
Mm-hmm.
have this separate career and, pursue these other passions I have. Like, my goal at one point was to make the Olympics. And I think,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I'll still run again and try and do that, but
Mm-hmm.
I still have time to do that, I think, if I wanted to. But I also have goals as a teacher and
Mm-hmm.
as an educator in education. And I think a lot of times you see a lot of athletes kind of fall back into the sport they were in, like as a coach or whatever it is. They kind of stay in that realm where they're comfortable. And I feel like I've tested
Mm-hmm.
myself and really challenged myself in different areas that aren't track or sport related. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty proud of that. Yeah.
Nice. All right,
Yeah.
just to finish the episode, like what's or how can I say it? Because I always wanted to ask you this one when we were working together, but I was like, probably it's not proper to ask. But how do you
Yeah.
overcome like your injury emotional wise? Like I want to hear like more about that process. And I didn't want
Yeah.
to ask you that because like when I was a PO and that I got like the biggest injury, at least I was never able to recover. So I was like, that hit me so bad, like more emotionally than physically, because I was like, okay, so my career is over. I'll never make it to the majors. I will never make it even like to pro baseball, like at any level. So I was just like, I'm not gonna ask anything about it because it's like I don't know like how you face that situation emotional wise.
Yeah, I don't know if I really have an answer. I don't think I really handled any of them well. I had a lot towards the end. I got one in high school. It was pretty bad, um, but eventually got through it. All worked out. That one, it's just the day today. Like when you wake up and you're like, oh, maybe I'm gonna feel
Mm-hmm.
good today. And you wake up and you're still in pain. It keeps going on. It's
Mm-hmm.
endless. Feels like it's hard to get out of it. But um, I had good. Yeah, like my parents were there for that one. College, it got tougher. I remember the thing for me was running. You just always are feeling the pain, and sometimes I felt like I had a stress fracture in my femur. I think it was my sophomore year of college or my junior year. I don't remember. Um, and I was running on it for so long. I ran on it for like 2 months, and it's like the stress fracture in my
Mm-hmm.
femur. And I was telling my coaches and my trainers like, "Ah, it hurts really bad," and we kind of thought it was soreness. I never had a stress fracture, so I didn't know what
Mm-hmm.
to look out for. And so they're like, we're like massaging it and all this stuff that we probably shouldn't have done, but we're trying to like get me ready to race cross country and all this stuff. And luckily that one almost was good for me because I ran through so much pain. I was in pain all the time that once I got
Mm-hmm.
my MRI, we finally decided to do an MRI because I just couldn't do it anymore. And I had a stress
Yeah.
fracture. I was almost relieved. So that one I was like, okay, I'm not crazy. I'm injured. I can take a break. And it was one of my first
Mm-hmm.
real breaks from running. And that one was good. After that, though, I got another bad one like my last year at Oregon, and my Achilles just wouldn't go away. Missed my last, like my senior year outdoor track season.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's like for someone who handles the mental side and takes it like pretty personally, I don't have a great answer for you. I didn't really get
Mm-hmm.
through them. It was just like lots of tears and lots of like
Mm-hmm.
feeling lonely and feeling sorry for yourself and feeling like you're not good enough, taking it very personally. And I still did that as a
Mm-hmm.
professional. um, I think most recently what you're probably referring to is I had Achilles surgery.
Yeah, that
that
one, yeah.
was that one was okay because again it was just so much pain all the time that like surgery was
Mm-hmm.
really the last option. It was like
Mm-hmm.
I can try and get this fixed the rest of my life or just have to deal with this Achilles thing for the rest of my life and try and manage it. So I decided to do the surgery and still deal with it today. It's not like it's gone, but um, I'm glad I did that one. The more so the ones that were
Mm-hmm.
just like popping up, and the ones that you aren't, the ones that are hard to diagnose, just like wear you down mentally. And
Mm-hmm.
I think just if I had any advice to people, because I never figured it out, it wore me down, and it's
Yeah.
partially why I'm not running right now.
Mm-hmm.
If I had any advice to give someone, I'd just say, it happens to everybody. You don't think it's going to happen to you until it does. Because I was definitely one of those people like, oh, I don't get injured, and then I got injured all the
Mm-hmm.
time. So just be patient. I think patience
Yeah.
is the key for those things. It sucks to
a,
hear it, and
a
it's like,
quality that I don't have at all.
yeah,
As you
yeah.
know,
I
as you
mean,
know.
Yeah, you don't have it and I don't have it either. So I think it's a tough one.
Yeah. So the last question, like we're coming to the end of this episode, is what are the next steps in your life? Like what are you planning to accomplish? How do you define success in your life? Stuff that you want to do like in the future.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm gonna keep teaching for the foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely my passion. I think it's been like reaffirmed in the last few months. I think at some point I'd like to be like an admin at a school, so like a principal role. Maybe in a few years down the road, hopefully. I'd like to keep going to school, so potentially getting my doctorate, my PhD. Maybe not now, but sometime in the next few years,
Mm-hmm.
start working on that process. I haven't fully given up running yet. I work out every day.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know. I'm in a healthy spot with my like
Mm-hmm.
running and not really
Are
in
you
a
fully
competitive
recovered?
mindset. I'm recovered. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'll be fully recovered like really ever after this surgery, but like I can run, I can work out and stuff, and I don't think I'm gonna run competitively again. That's just like my initial feelings right now. I'm not in a
Mm-hmm.
competitive mindset. I'm kind of happy with how it's all played out and where it's all gone. So for now, yeah, just focus on the teaching and where I want to be in my life, enjoy some
Mm-hmm.
things, travel, make meaningful relationships and just, enjoy each
Mm-hmm.
day.
If you have
And,
the chance to compete in the Olympics in the future, will you take it?
I think so that would have to be a decision. Like I'd have to train for it, obviously. So,
Uh-huh.
maybe there's a day where I wake up and it's a few years from now and I want to get back into it and give it one more shot. Like I think 2024 is probably not in the cards for me, just like based on the
Uh-huh.
last year and a half I've had of not really running that much. But 2028, you never know. Who knows? Maybe I'll
Uh-huh.
want to do it. I'm not gonna write it off, but I'm not gonna promise anything. It's probably pretty unlikely. So
Okay, because we want to see you in the TV. We want to see you on TV.
yeah, maybe
at
someday.
least at least us, like from Athletic, we want to see you
yeah,
there.
yeah.
All right. And the last part of the episode, like the way I always finish my episode is like since I already asked you a lot of questions, now you ask me 2 or 3 questions. And if a previous guest already asked me these questions, you gotta choose another one.
Okay. I think. Hmm. I think for you, I feel like you've had so many. I've never really talked to you about this. I don't think you had so many people on, and you've met so many different people who did different things. Like, and you have so many different interests and passions. I'm just curious where you want it to lead you. Like, you're going to get your MBA, you're going to finish up at NEU,
um,
um, and you have so mmany great attributes to persevere and test yourself and challenge yourself and build something. What do you like? Where do you want to end? Like, where do you want to end up? Do you want to like? Do you have a goal, an end goal, or like a 5-year goal, or like do you want to start a business? Like, what's the plan? I'm so curious.
yeah, so I'll talk about like professional wise and personal wise. So professional wise, I think that I want to work for the New York Yankees. It's my favorite team. But I also like I don't mind like working for any team in the majors, you know? Like it's
Okay.
not that I hate any team. So it's like I would be down like to start like a career like related to marketing or business or public relations. But if it's something completely related to baseball, it's like I would be so happy doing it and it wouldn't feel like a job because I would be enjoying it. And
Yeah.
right now, like working in athletics in this past year is like I'm kind of like tasting it because it's like being surrounded by athletes, the mentality that people have, like the way like you or my other supervisors, like your mentality, like all of this stuff is like something that you don't see in every single department. Or for example, yeah, I would say that yeah, working at something related to baseball and business.
Okay.
And personal wise, I would say, I mean, I want to get married, have kids, like just feel like successful like in that area too, because I think it's fulfilling when you're growing up. Because it's like if you're successful, I always and it's not something for me, it's something that I read or heard somewhere. Like if you're not successful in your personal life, it's gonna be so hard for you to be successful in your professional life. So I think that if I'm succeeding personal wise, it's gonna be easier to succeed professional wise. Because if I'm succeeding professional wise, but once I get back home, it's a mess with my wife and with my kids and with everyone in my family, I won't feel successful. So I think that's what I'm looking for.
Okay. I like that answer. It's a good answer. I'm going to need Yankees tickets when you start working there.
Say it again?
I'm going to need Yankees tickets once you start working.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'll give it to you.
All right. Perfect. Good deal.
Other question?
Let's
finish with this one.
What's the best restaurant in Flagstaff?
The best what?
Restaurant in Flagstaff.
Restaurant? I mean, I haven't gone to that many, but I like Fat Olives. Okay. I like Bicicleta.
Okay.
And the top of the top, Panda Express, 100%.
Okay, I was waiting for that. I was hoping you were going to say Panda. Oh, I wasn't going to let you get out of here without saying Panda Express. I was going to bring it up. So I'm glad you said it.
You want to tell people what you gave me for my graduation gift?
Oh, Panda Express gift card.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. What else would we do?
That was so cool. Yeah, when I saw that, I told my dad, he was laughing like crazy because he was like, now everyone knows that I love Panda.
Best restaurant in town.
Yeah, and I'm going on Saturday, by the way.
There you go.
I'll send you a picture when I'm there. Yeah, because like last year in August, one of my friends, he was like, hey, Luis, can you like hold like this stuff in your room? Because it was like during moving and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, I'll keep it. And then he's like, okay, so I'm going to give you Panda Express. And I'm like, okay. Like, he knows that he can buy me with Panda Express, right? And that was in August. And like on Monday, he was like, hey, Luis, I still owe you Panda. You want to go on Saturday? And I'm like, I would never say no to Panda, you know?
Awesome. Yeah. That's great.
All right, Blake, thank you so much, like, again, for taking the time. It was a really cool episode. And for people that are listening, thank you for staying here. And please don't forget to share this episode in your Instagram stories, Facebook stories. And you can find me on Instagram as @Luis Carlos Estrada. Number 2, Blake, they can find you as Blake Haney, right?
Yeah, don't follow me on social media. I don't post, so.
You'll see Under Armour stuff.
Not a good follow. Yeah, not a good follow. Follow Luis instead.
All right, thank you. And yeah, see you in the next episode. Bye.